What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top-rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and you are listening to NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast, reaching over 250,000. That's 250,000 listeners and readers of weha.com, the Jewish Ledger, and West Hartford Magazine, live 24/7, 365. And before we say hello to today's guests, I thought we could all say hi and hear from our co-host, Bob Carr. Hey, Bob.
Hi, Tom. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Kosher McCarty, and Ronnie Newton, is a founder and partner in weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine. The Taste of West Hartford, our next one is coming up on April 27th, as well as the Best of West Hartford will be coming our way or your way this fall. Post-production and distribution of our podcast is managed by Exvadio Media, a division of the Modern Observer Group of Middletown, Connecticut. And today our guest is Mark Hatch of French Cleaners. Hello, Mark.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Mark? And as if you don't mind, Bob, I know you always ask the first question first to get this little sort of PR line in here for us, because I didn't know it was a big deal. For our sponsor, thank you again, NBT Bank, for continuing to be our sponsor. Without you, there would be no podcast. But we were doing our results from 2025, as we all look back over the previous year, and we had reached nearly 60 episodes, but most importantly, our 1,000th download. And I guess in the world of podcasts, that's a big deal. I didn't know that. So I just wanted to share that out a little bit. Yay!
Good.
Obviously, people are listening, which is good. So
it's always good. Always good to have listeners around talking to the ether.
That's right.
So, Mark, just from a personal experience, I always wore a suit, as Tom knows. I worked for about 35, 40 years, and I wore suits. I held on so hard to the end where I would never wear casual clothing. And eventually, people started thinking I was snobby because I kept wearing my suit. But I never not wore a tie and a jacket. That was it. That was my casual clothing. So that's changed, right? COVID hurt the cleaning industry, obviously, and then the way people dress more casually these days. How have you been able to manage that and stay relevant? And because obviously other cleaners have closed in your location. How do you feel that that's been a possibility?
Yeah, you touched on that's a real dynamic for sure. I mean, casual wear, it's huge. I mean, across the U.S., I mean, you have, I would say in general, our region, we compare to other dry cleaners across the country. If I had a dry cleaners in San Francisco, Tech Valley, they're wearing T-shirts to work. Here in the Northeast, I still get a good amount of suits, and I get a good amount of shirts. A shirt counts overall are down. When I say shirts, I reference men's shirts. We have specialized equipment for that. And yes, people still do dress up once in a while. But that regular dry cleaning cadence of every office worker, that's definitely never going to come back, I imagine. So COVID hit, people were working from home. The thing that's really changed is garments have changed. So you had a suit because that was what was available. Wool suits were popular. You had to dry clean them. And now you can get things that feel like wool that are made from polyester that you can wash at home. So we have, as things have changed in the market, so has our ability to service those garments. So we offer wet cleaning, which is a novel cleaning process. Most dry cleaners have adopted it, but we were a pretty early adopter. So while in your wardrobe, you may have a less percentage of wool today, in 2026 now, you're going to have a lot more polyester. So we have ways to clean that, remove stains, optimize for it. And we're kind of positioned as a kind of a luxury brand cleaner. And while you're not gonna, you might wash what you get at like TJ Maxx in your washer at home. If you buy a really high-end garment, even though it's still made of polyester, you're still gonna probably bring it to professional cleaners to have cleaned. And so a lot of those things are dry cleaned. We still see cashmeres and stuff like that and wools. But that change to poly and washing it has kind of kept us relevant for people who really want to take care of their really nice garments.
Yeah.
So what does wet clean mean? I never heard that term
Yeah,
before.
thanks.
Yeah.
So I apologize. So dry cleaning, we clean the clothes in a wheel with dry clean solvent, right? So it's a hydrocarbon solvent. It's a derivative of the oil industry. So it's dry because it repels water. So that protects your fibers of your wools and your cashmere. Wet cleaning is a way to clean that wool suit or that cashmere in a water-based process. So we add chemicals, soaps, detergents mainly, to that water before your garment touches the water so that there won't be any felting when we do clean it. So like say you brought in a suit that had a really bad stain, mud, and it could take us forever and be really energy intensive to take it out on dry cleaning. We actually will use the wet cleaning process. And it's excellent for things like polyesters that I mentioned. Wedding gowns these days used to be all silk. Now they're almost all polyester. So wet cleaning wedding gowns, they come out amazing. They have brighteners in them that kind of help us boost it. So it's a different cleaning technology. About 30% of the garments we get go wet cleaning. Like think khakis, like this polo I have on right here. This is polyester, right? So these would all be wet cleaned just because the garments are designed for wet cleaning. So wet cleaning is a pretty big staple of our operation these days.
Mm. One thing this just happened a couple weeks ago, Mark and Bob. I was my son had tried to put a suit on that he hadn't had on in a while. He's a basketball coach, so he's one of those people who still he insists on his players wearing shirts and ties. But
that's good.
Yeah, exactly. But he put the suit on, and this blew my mind because it was too big, for him.
Yeah.
And now, if this happened to any of us, probably the majority of our listeners, would either bring it back and have alterations done, or whatever, and that type of thing. He was going to throw it away.
Again, garments have changed, and the what's changed is the materials, and with that comes the price point, right? So, I mean, garments used to be a lot more expensive relative to income right now. So if you have a suit, like for example, I'm going to go change filters on a machine right after this. If I get a big stain on this, it might not make sense for me to pay my staff to clean it. I might make sense just to throw it away. I mean, we don't recommend that, obviously. That has implications for the environment, and it's just not necessarily the right thing to do. But garments are very cheap, right? So paying to alter that jacket, it might make sense to get a new one tailored. And so we're fighting that. They call that fast fashion. And there's a lot, if you look up there's a bunch of economic developments about East Asia garments, like undercutting and getting in tax-free, and Shein is a good example, right? So things are really cheap on Shein, but they're really poor quality. So you're kind of seeing a surge of kind of American-made garments, and with that would be higher prices. But yeah, garments are really cheap these days, and that is a dynamic for sure. Not uncommon.
And I can say this about Shein. I know that you can't, but a holiday shirt, I think it had Santa Claus or something on it, that my my grandson was buying for me just for fun, to be able to have it. So his parents obviously were purchasing it for him. Well, anyway, they ordered a 2X for me, and it was like a small, like it didn't go up my arm. I was just like, so I looked at them and I said, okay, I know I'm a big guy, but I'm not a 5X.
You get what you pay for.
So anyway, be careful with those. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thanks.
So I want to point out some of the services that Mark has. I mentioned this a little earlier before he came on. I have a 75-year-old cashmere coat that was my uncle's, and my father had it for years, and then sat in the closet for a long time. And the lining had disintegrated over a period of time. So I went to French cleaners with it, and I had to go downstairs to meet the person who was going to actually do the work repair on it. And I asked to save as much of the original lining as possible, because it's a family heirloom. It's wildly, everyone knows Uncle Jimmy's coat. And you guys did a phenomenal job, and it was also great to work with the people there. So you do the actual work in-house, right? You're not shipping any of that stuff out?
We are lucky. We have one location, and we do almost everything here. We send out leathers and rugs, but that's fairly common. But all the alterations are done on site. Dry cleaning shirts are done here, which obviously gives us some control. So it's easier for us to take projects like yours that you mentioned. If I have a question, I mean, I have tailors on staff. I can sew a button, but I can't repair a lining. So someone asked me, like, Mark, what do we do? It's like, I don't know. My staff does. Let me go get my staff. So I'll yank them up to the store. They're the experts, right? So we do have a lot of experts here, which helps. And I'm glad we were able to help you with that coat. That's great.
Yeah. So is that awesome? And again, being the personal touch, coming in and then going down to meeting the people, picking the fabric out, all that was, it just all happened right there. And then you did a beautiful job, repairing it. So just at the end of the day, those are the services that a lot of people don't know you may have.
Yeah. And Mark, what do people do? Do they mail it to you? Do you, how, like, as an example, if Bob were involved in
we used to get more. We used to get more stuff through the mail, FedEx, UPS. I mean, we're pretty well known and regarded in terms of, like, what I would classify Bob's project as a restoration project. So restoration is tricky, right? So you just have to be really, really careful with certain garments, and they're technically can be difficult. So yeah, we do take some things, like if someone knows us, they live local and say they're in Florida, we've had garments shipped to us and then we'll ship them back. We've done that many times. We have route pickup delivery service. I mean, I have 4 trucks on the road. We do half of our volume through route pickup. So we'll pick things up. I mean, like wedding gowns, I don't necessarily like to have driving around all the greater Hartford area, but you can always bring them in, and you could definitely mail them to us. I mean, that's an option. Yeah. Alterations, we like to pin and measure things, so can't do everything remotely, but we're here many different ways.
Well, don't worry about the wedding dress, because my wife and I will be married 39 years this summer, and I still have her wedding dress in one of your boxes in our attic. See, because we're going to do something with it someday.
And we get people open them up and they say, hey, this we have had some come in recently, like 40 years ago. They open it up and I have a couple stains. So then we re-clean it, right? So we boxed it before my time, before Phil's time, the past generation. So so we see a lot of those. Yeah.
Where will you find West Hartford's best and most comprehensive business news? At weha.com. Subscribe to the weha.com newsletter Business Buzz for free every Monday at weha.com. Log on to we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
Yeah. If you reminded me of it, Mark, I would love to chat a little bit about, if it's okay with all our listeners, because I just love generational businesses. As a small business owner, ourselves, we love this kind of thing. So let's talk a little bit about, this isn't something that, you woke up one day and said, I'm going to open up French cleaners. It's like, this has been going on for a long time.
A very long time. Yeah. I got involved in 2016, and I had worked in different corporate jobs. I was an engineer by trade. My father-in-law, Phil, is the 4th generation owner. So shortly, sometime soon, I'll be the 5th generation owner. And the business goes all the way back to 1911. So it's my wife's family on her mother's side, the Gassners, opened the business in 1911 with a partner, Melman. Some listeners might know the Melmans. The Melmans and the Gassners had ownership from 1911. We've been in this physical location since 1925. So it's been a great ride. They used to have multiple locations all down Farmington Avenue that would stretch into Hartford. The business actually originated, I believe, in Frog Hollow in Hartford. And then just kind of as the population moved out to this West Hartford area, it kind of came with it. It used to be a dyer, right? So we talked about wet cleaning and how things have changed. You never used to clean garments. You get a stain on something like a wool coat, black coat. I'm not going to remove the stain. I'm just going to cover it up with some dye, some black dye. So you didn't even bother cleaning, right? Dry cleaning technology, really, it was in its infancy. So it was a French dye works, right? So as garments changed,
I did not know that, by the way.
Yeah. So this is another wrinkle, right? So it used to be dye works, French dye works, and tailors. We had tailors, right? So that was very popular at the time. As sewing machines developed and dry cleaning technology got adopted, they pivoted into the dry cleaning space and started dry cleaning a lot of clothes. So
where are you? So for people who don't know, who may be listening, where are you located? How do people reach you?
Yeah, we're on Farmington Avenue, 935 Farmington Avenue, real close to Blueback Square.
And the landmark, Bob, that I always use is that, and I'm sure it's been grandfathered, but they have a billboard, on their roof, on top of their building. I think it's the only billboard in West Hartford.
It's up there. It's up there. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Well, And you may also made me think too, Mark, that because we've talked about this in the past, it's the 90. Well, we just finished the 95th anniversary of the Jewish Ledger, so the entire sort of history of French cleaners will be written, and will
Yeah,
be
right.
published, one of these days when Mark and I get to it. So
We still get hangers, like people will be in their closet and they'll pull out a hanger that has the phone number for French cleaners, and it's 5 digits, right? So
Wow.
then they'll bring
Right.
it into me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to keep this. So
yeah.
we get little pieces here and there. I mentioned the wedding gowns, and I'll see invoices from 1970s. Yeah, so it's wild. We still see some of that history kind of petering in as people find things in their homes, and it's really nice to see some of that.
Yeah, I bet. Absolutely. And I'm sure, like when you have that piece that had the 5-digit phone number on it, and then you can show it to, your mother-in-law, and that kind of stuff. That's cool stuff. Yeah, that's priceless. That's great. All good. So anyway, what we should say here is if anyone's listening and they do have some old French cleaners memorabilia, they should share it. Yeah, they should drop it
Yeah,
off.
that'd be great. It sounds good.
Yeah, which would be good. And Mark, before I forget to say this too, if somebody has a specific question, some wonderful item or garment or whatever that they love and they cherish, how do they reach you? How do they reach out?
Yeah, so they can call us. It's phone number is 860-523-5211. We
Yeah.
love to see those pieces, right? So text messages are good. You can send me a picture. I mean, sometimes like if it's like the couch cushion, it's really heavy. I mean, send me a picture. If it's got mold on it, sometimes I can tell you don't bother.
Yeah.
If you have a really special piece like the coat you mentioned, Bob, bring it in the store and we can assess it and then give you an idea what the risks would be, and then put a plan together. Each piece is unique. I can't tell you for sure we can do X, Y, Z. We got to see it. We got to look at it, and then we'll collaborate
Yeah. Well,
together.
I'll tell you nothing. Uh, I have not been able to stump French cleaners yet, from
Don't
having,
try. Don't
yeah,
try.
from having pillows that needed, what was it called? A capiche shell because it was a certain, beach pillow or something, and you match the broken button, a toggle. Remember toggles that used to be on jackets, those little toggle hoods, I think actually in that case, you couldn't match the one that was on there, but you replaced it with 4 or 5, brand new ones. I mean, it's amazing. It's just great.
My staff is good at solving problems. I think
Yeah.
that's I will give them that for sure. We like doing those kind of things, and it's fun. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, you can press 1,000 shirts a day, you probably fall asleep. So when we get projects like that, it's a nice change of pace.
Well,
So
it
yeah,
does set you apart, and it does make it, where people are going to bring their other garments in, know they're going to be well taken care of, right? So it's more than just coming to a dry cleaner and dropping something off and picking it up. It's having someone who's going to take, where you have something like Tom was talking about, or where I was talking about earlier, that needs the special attention, that your local around the corner person who's running a dry cleaning shop who's sending out a lot of other stuff out isn't going to put that kind of care into. So it's I think why French cleaners has been around since 1911, right? It's because of all that the
we're in the trust business, really. I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
give me
Yeah.
your garment. We got to house it. We got to take care of it. You're trusting me with it. So whether we process it or not, I mean, we really it's important. It's the right thing to do. So and yes, and obviously, when I wasn't signing up, but when I learned more about French cleaners and saw the people that work here and saw that this is a pretty special business, it was
Mm,
silly for me not to jump on. So
mm.
yeah, it's a good place.
Yeah. Mark, is it and maybe I'm not sure exactly how much of a factor this plays in what you're doing now, but I know quite often that I'm not great about picking up items, so they'll be in storage. Is that something that you're still encouraging people, or are we staying away?
So we offer storage. We have a cold storage room that keeps it climate controlled. So if you had cashmere or wool pieces, we always worry about insect damage.
Mhm.
We can take your winter wear, so like your heavy coats and stuff like that. We like to dry clean them, and then we'll put them in our cold storage room, and then we'll hold them for 6 months.
Right.
And then we can pick those up at the end of 6 months. So we hold a lot of garments, and then our new system, we can send reminders and emails and texts, and I'm sure listeners have gotten some of those. Um, That's
It's a-
always just to manage our level of inventory. We're a pretty big store for a dry cleaner, and we need space. We need space to continue to do what we do. So we hold on to what we can. And we can definitely store garments for folks. That's something we can provide.
To those who are listening, Mark, who say, "Oh, I know French cleaners; they're very expensive." How do you handle this whole, like everybody else in the world, this whole price objection, piece? And I mean, talk about that for a second.
It's hard. I mean, that's obviously hard. We are expensive, right? If you price check us versus other cleaners, I think you'd be pretty shocked to find that we are pretty close, So I think you kind of get value, obviously, for what you're paying for. And I know that's a tagline, but
you get what you paid for, right? Yeah.
It's not a dial that I'm just turning the prices up. I mean, I sit here and I look, and this time, I look at my P&L, and I am honestly consciously trying to keep my price affordable for every client. So we have the special projects, but our bread and butter is the sweaters and the shirts and the pants. And I want to offer that to my clients at a reasonable price point. So it's not priced to gouge. It's priced to support my staff. I got 30 employees, right? And I got taxes to pay and lights to keep on. And again, that's a tagline. And I really think if people try us, and we do try to offer services, we try to over communicate, we deliver for free. We do try to offer value for what you pay. And I hope that shows. So.
And I don't know if many people know this, because I take it for granted, and I appreciate it just because I've been able to benefit from it for so long. But I also get a discount because I'm a West Hartford Chamber member, in that sense. So that's something, a little plug, shout out to the Chris and Kate at the Chamber. But that's, every little bit helps a little bit. So
absolutely,
that's wonderful. Good. All right. Well, believe it or not, we're gonna have to have you back on, Mark, because I feel like we didn't talk about the process enough. But the one thing
we'll do a tour. Could we do a tour live? When you
actually
do that on Facebook, right, Bob?
Over for that idea.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. We could get a Facebook Live thing going there. That would be awesome.
And the one, I mean, what you really blew me away today, because I did not realize how many decades ago that it was really a dye business. That actually, you weren't cleaning like you said, a black coat. You were just putting a black.
I mean, we're talking Model T era, right? I
mean,
but I mean, this is before the adoption of automobiles. We were dyeing clothes. I mean, it really is. It doesn't seem like that long ago. I mean, 100 years. I mean, what is that? But things have changed quite a bit.
That's for sure. All right. Well, and they will continue to change for everyone who's listening, and for those at French Cleaners. So let's just remind our listeners one more time your phone number if they have any questions or they want to reach out to us.
860-523-5211. Yep, that's our phone.
And in the meantime, if Mark's not there, anybody who picks up the phone will be able to help you, at French Cleaners. And please not only support French Cleaners, but continue to support our sponsor, NVT Bank, because again, as I mentioned early on in the broadcast here, that without them there would be no podcast. So we appreciate their continued support. In the meantime, be safe and be well, and we'll see you on the scene.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NVT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NVT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.